Welcome to the Aro Benaiah Show, where we share the real stories and strategy behind success of trade people, business leader. Today we are talking about someone that often gets overlooked, but can make or break business and system, clarity and organization. My guest is Sonya Corkery. Uh, is a business owner, consultant, wife, and mother who specializes in helping business owner clean up their operations so that they can design the life they truly desire. With over a decade of experience in integrating and streamlining family-owned business, Soya knows exactly where the bottlenecks are and has fixed them. She brings practical, no-nonsense advice that is to every entrepreneur's need. Soya, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So, Soya, what was it like growing up for you?
It was interesting because I didn't realize how quickly my life had changed and how poor my family really had become. We'd had a family business and things at that time did not go well. And we didn't even have a house to live in. We were quite poor. And I think the realization didn't really hit home for me until I was much older, how poor we really were when I was younger.
Wow. Well, okay. But before starting Clear Plan Consulting, what kind of job and role prepare you for what you currently do now?
So before we were in business, so we've been in business for nearly 2 decades now. I worked in banking. I actually fell into banking because I was really good at sales. So somebody asked me to come into a banking role, and I was so fortunate because I got so much experience in finance, and I eventually became a financial planner. And so when my husband decided that he wanted to have a business, I had all of those skill sets that I could apply, and that was such a benefit for us to be able to have that, to apply those skills, because they're not taught. Those things just aren't taught to most people.
Yeah, so true, so true. So you have helped many business owners take control of their operation. What inspired you to focus on this particular area?
In Australia, 85% of businesses fail within the first 3 years. And I think that's largely because the education isn't there about the fundamentals that need to be set up, especially the finance foundation that needs to be set up for a business to make sure that money flows really easily and really well, and that you understand what liabilities are and how to provision best for those liabilities. And I'm really passionate about trying to just help small to medium enterprise business owners get through that initial stage, really get them to leapfrog through that stage and get them the best chances of successes.
Wow, amazing. So more like yeah, the procedure, the way you actually come about the kind of business you do and who you do it for is so very clear. And yes, I actually want to ask, at what age do you get to start working, and how did entrepreneurship actually more like comes into it?
So when did I start?
Yes, started working more like your first job.
Oh my goodness, my first job. It was unpaid because I worked for my parents. Um, and I probably would have been about 8. And
Wow.
they had a service station, and my mum would make me pump fuel for the clients, for the customers, and I would have to do driveway service. So I would have to wash windscreens, check tire pressure, I would have to check oil, pump fuel, and then I would have to serve the client, and I would have to know how to give back money and change and count back correctly. So that was part of my role of learning in the service station that we had. It was very manual kind of labor, I guess, for an 8-year-old, but I thought it was fun, right? I just thought I was
Wow.
having leadership. I thought it was a great old time. But I worked from a very young age. I always worked, and then I went into I would work in a bakery before school every day from 5 a.m. till 8 a.m. And then I would go to school, and then I would come home and work in the afternoon at the same bakery in the afternoon after school. So, and I would do that most days of the week. When I was probably 12, 13 years of age, I would do that, before and after school.
Wow. That was pretty really much for a young kid at that particular age. Well, the fact that you just see it as having fun, that for me is another different.
Like, I suppose it wasn't something that my friends got to do, so I thought it was pretty special. You know, they were like, "You
Wow.
work?" And I was like, "Yeah, I work," and I get a free soft drink, and I thought that was pretty great. Um, and in Australia, the standard working age, the minimum working age is about just under 14 years of age, right? So now you couldn't do that. But in a family-owned business in Australia, there's no minimum age requirement. So a lot of people, especially families that have large families, their children help, and
Yeah.
that's just normal, right? And so when it's a family business and everybody's on board, everybody wants it to be successful. So the kids are trained early, and I think that's really a great skill set because it's not taught in schools. Those things
Yeah.
aren't taught, and those kids have those skill sets about being able to converse with people and maybe even taking on difficult situations or difficult conversations early. And then they're more resilient to those things. So that when they go into another type of workplace, it's just easy. And then they
Yeah.
become kind of the diamond that everyone's looking for because they have these great skill sets that they just
Yeah.
thought were just things their parents were teaching them. They didn't realize how valuable those things were.
So true, because I got to find out because I work in the family business at a very young age. So my parents were into farming, and every morning, most time, woke up and actually more like do some little work around the house, sometimes in the garden and then in the farm. Yeah, it was pretty very lovely. Yeah. And the fact that it informed your sense of responsibility very well at that particular early age, compared to other kids. If you give them little things to get done, they can't get it done because they didn't get to kind of, I don't know, they can't, this energy, they find it difficult to just come up with it and do those particular jobs. They can't, it's difficult. Unlike us, we are tagging it as we are just having fun. And hearing it from you too, it's really amazing. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so you have integrated and streamlined family-owned business from the ground up. What was the experience like, and what did that actually teach you?
So with the businesses that we have now, so currently we have four businesses. And the one that we started with, my husband basically came home one day. He was an electrician, and he said, "I've quit my job today. I'm going into business for myself." And my middle son was only 2 weeks old. I was at home. I was caring for my children, and I was still working. I was still employed. But he just said, "I want to do this better," and so I was really kind of thrown into this journey initially because I was his wife and he needed help, and it made sense because I had finance background, right? And I kind of didn't ask for this, but it was a journey that happened that I'm not mad about. Like, I'm so
Yeah,
excited and grateful that I became a business owner. But the challenges in the beginning were really hard because he was a trade minded person, very, very smart, and I
mm,
was a business minded person, and we were both trying to tell each other what to do. And so we had a lot of problems in the beginning because I thought I could do things better in the office and he wanted to maintain control. And so we really had to find our roles within the business, and we really started to look at operating procedures and what was the best way to do things for the sake of the business, not for the sake of
yeah,
my ego or
yeah,
his ego, and just wanting to both control the situation, right? So we thought, okay, what is best for this business? Because ultimately, whatever is best for the business is best for us as a family. And we started to develop the roles and plan for the future of this business. And ultimately, that's where the success came from, was creating these roles and standard operating procedures and strategies to grow the business for the sake of it as an entity, to make sure it was the best it could be.
wow, wow, amazing, amazing. I was just imagining what kind of discussion would have, the heated argument it would have been more like you were more of the business type, and he was more of the trade part, because I know sometimes it's quite very demanding for a trade persons to actually run business in a business like way, because most times we deal with tools, and because currently I don't more like a painting, painting in the, I actually more like do painting and industrial cleaning alongside. So sometimes uh, relating with business people who are actually more like do with office work every now and then is quite demanding. So I do not understand. Yeah. Thank you.
It
So a lot.
it is hard, but at the end of the day, we wanted to stay married and we wanted it to be successful. So we both had to make some
Yeah,
changes, and that's just what we had to do, right? It's what you've got to
yeah,
do.
yeah. And it's really amazing because the merger of the both of them create this level of professionalism while still maintaining what you do. Because most time a whole lot of trade business does not have these particular structures, which later will break most of their activities, and they aren't able to kind of affect it very well. And also they aren't able to get bigger jobs owing to their communications and how they actually set their structures, which is very, very key.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people make um unnecessary mistakes in the beginning because they don't want to ask for help. And I think if they ask for help earlier, those structures would be correct and those things would be more streamlined. And that's what I'm trying to say to people is don't try to battle uphill and not know where you're going. Sometimes you need to ask for help in the beginning just so you can get a framework at least or something or some kind of guide or direction on where you want to go. Because if
Yeah,
you say have an entity and it's not the correct one, you might pay lots and lots of tax, right? And that money could have been better used to get education or support or consulting or strategy from somebody who
yeah,
can assist you. And so, like, having somebody to look at it is really more of an investment as opposed to, just an expense they don't want
yeah.
that information at a time that's right for them. And it might be in the first few years or it might be
Yeah,
down the
it's
track.
so true. I think that was one more reason I was more like Jacob to actually do podcast, because I was more like I would just look like my color that if there was something I could learn from three people and those who work with their hands, where can I go up to and learn from them and discover that a whole lot of their stories are not being shared. And yeah, so okay, maybe I should just start mine and reach out to those who are willing to share their stories and those who could actually give some level of knowledge. Because sometimes the difficult thing is they don't even know what questions to ask. So, because if you know what questions to ask, I think half of the problem is already being solved compared to you reaching out. Because most times they don't even know what to ask, and also being that they are doing fine what they do very well. So sometimes the need does not even struck them that you create structure and everything, being that every now and then they have jobs that they keep waking up to do. So structure is not something that comes to mind easily, except you have someone from professionalism that actually more like I'll speak volume to that.
Yeah. But that's the thing is you don't know what you don't know, right? And
Yeah,
so sometimes you need to be in circles with other people. And I always say to business owners, get into a group with other business owners because we're all having the same problems. It doesn't matter if
yeah,
you have a $1 million business or a $500 million business. The problems are the same. And it's largely because we're not reaching out for help or support
yeah,
from these other people. And if we can do that and really share and come together and support each other, you'll get sometimes the best nugget of information from somebody just in passing at an event,
yeah.
that you can take and you can explode your business overnight just by taking advice from people who've done it before you so you can get the work done more quickly. Implement, learn from those things, apply and move forward. And that's the most important thing, I think.
All right. So, wow. Thank you so much. I think you just answered the next question I'm about to ask, because the next
Sorry.
question, no, it's fine. Because the next question was more like a lot of business and trade people actually more like get technical parts sorted. But when it comes to them actually talking about structures and everything, they actually get it wrong. So I was about asking why that actually happened. But being that you already analyzed it, that they don't go to meeting in respect of their mindset and everything, they don't keep working on that particular path. And the moment you said it just struck me that most of the enlightenment I actually start getting in respect of putting myself out there, putting a little structures. It come as a result of I was going to some kind of meeting, some kind of training in respect of what I do. About those who were big in it, they organized some training and another particular aspect. So I was able to go there or meet a whole lot of persons who do similar job. And owing to the conversations that keep happening there, being in that particular cycle, it informed my perspective. And most times I wouldn't have get to make mistake that everybody keep making every now. They're into their stories about what they have gone through here and there. And yeah, it has really been amazing. And in fact, I just brought it up. He really speak volume to that. Yeah,
But
thank
that
you.
That's like, so we listen to podcasts, we share stories, we get feedback, we think about our lives, we think about our businesses, how we can apply these things. We have great books. So, we might read a great book from Simon Sinek and say, well,
Yeah,
leaders eat last, or we might read something from Gary Vee, or
yeah,
all these great people, Alex Hormozy, Brene Brown, all these great people who are having these great journeys and documenting it, and then being able to sit here on a podcast with you on the other side of the world and have conversations. We are so lucky and fortunate to be doing business in this time
yeah,
in our generation, because everybody before us didn't have that, and there was so much more of a competitive nature where people didn't want to share, and all that did was, people either won or they failed, and it was really hard to
yeah,
to get to a really high level of success. So kudos to you for doing this, and being able
yeah. Thank
to
you.
give people a platform to share these stories, and that's what's really important, is the sharing of the stories.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much, Corkery. I think this is really amazing. The fact that when you just mentioned Alex Omozi, it just jerked on me that I remember when I was working on how to actually make an offer. It was Alex Omozi that actually come through for me after I read his book, 1 million naira offer. Like, it was really amazing. I took a hold of his training and I read his books, 1 million offer, and was able to kind of make reference of how to actually make an offer that's so good that they can't ignore, which really speaks volume. And when you make reference to someone cynic, I remember I read starting with why. I actually more
Yeah.
like sat down to rethink why I do what I do, so that before without behind just everything I actually get to do, there's this uh deep more like mindset to show that yes, I'm actually more like doing a whole lot of things in respect of making things better, seeing the big picture behind what I do, not just for the sake of just looking for the interest and looking for the money, because sometimes those conversations are difficult, especially when you're trying to kind of close a particular deal. There comes some level of discussion sometimes. If you don't understand your business so well, apart from just making profit, you can actually miss out of this particular deal, owing to you can't communicate better and you can't see the big picture of how these things actually more like work with other things. And what you just said really speak volumes. So yeah, thank you.
No, I
So
agree. And that's why I talk a lot about strategy, because what we do is we ask our business owners, why are you doing this? And that's why that is such a great book, start with why.
yeah,
Because we say to the business owners, look, if you've been doing this for a while and you can't think of your life outside of this business, you've really become your business. You've kind of joined in with that entity, and it's now become you. And now it's almost like you can never leave it, because if you don't think of it as the vehicle to get you where you want to go, and yes, you have to nurture that vehicle, make sure it has everything it needs, but you'll never be able to separate yourself from that. And if you do it because you genuinely love helping people, it's not always about the money. The money always
yeah,
comes because it's a byproduct of what you're doing because you love doing it, right? And
yeah,
so what we say to people is, map out your dream life. What does that look like? Let's plan for that dream life, and let's use the vehicle, which is your business, to get you where you want to go. And let's look at how we set that up to make sure it's protected. Let's make sure we can get it as quick as possible. It's a lot of in-depth strategy, but we have to start with the end in mind. Otherwise, what are we doing? We're just like working, right? If we're just
yeah.
working, we might as well just have a job.
Yeah, so true. Just a job, because any day you step out, the business close. So, what are more like some of the most common mistake you see trade people and small business, small business owner make when it comes to business operation, from what you have seen and from clients you have actually worked with?
The really, really basic stuff is setting up your structured accounts properly. So, one is the entity type. So, in Australia, we have different types of taxation tiers depending on what kind of entity you are. And you need to consider things like, how are you protected in that entity? If you are a one man entrepreneur and solopreneur, and you are just paying tax like a normal individual, you that might work for you, but you might have risk because you're, you know, a solopreneur and you're more at risk than if you're a director of a company, for example. So we talk a lot about entities, but we also talk about how to set up your bank account structures correctly to make sure that your liabilities are provisioned for. And a great book for that is Mike Molowitz's Profit First. If you haven't read it, I think it's also on
Profit
Audible.
first.
So it's making sure that you have the accounts aligned to streamline and make sure all of those things are provisioned, because if you are not making enough money to keep your business open, you will know very quickly when you start allocating all of the expenses that you have to pay. And so that makes it really easy to see that red flag and make a change in place immediately. And they're the two main things I'd say, is structures and bank accounts. And I know it sounds really basic, but people
Yeah.
don't do it because they just go, oh, it's fine, I will provision for those liabilities, and they never put money aside, and then they spend it, and then they get into trouble, and then they have to go and ask for credit, and it
Yeah.
just stays on this wheel that builds, right?
Yeah, so true, so true. I think the respect of the structure and bank account and how the business has been structured is very, very key, because I think I was trying to, when I was about to plan my business and respect of the accounts, it just dawned on me that if if more like you're running a business and at the end of the day your company was more like if it's a sole proprietorship and you're just running it on your own, everything that you get to have can be online of it, compared to if it were just loan at limited liability, where the company ought to be the one paying for every of those particular things that is meant in the month, compared to all the things that belongs to you. I was like, wow, I never saw this end. And the fact I just made sure it just actually speaks volume to this. Yeah, thank you. So if someone is listening now and feel their business is a mess behind the scene, what is the first step they should take to clean it up?
So the first thing we need to get across is the numbers. We really need to know the numbers, look at the numbers. Now, if you're looking at your bank accounts and trying to gauge if you have money, that's not the best way. You need to be looking at your data, and we need to look at anomalies, and we need to plan using the data and plan forward. Okay, so what I would be doing is making sure you can understand how to read your numbers, your profit and loss statements, your balance sheets. We need to know that your data is up to date, and we also would like you to know what your break even point is. So the cost to open your business before you even make $1. There is a cost involved. There's fixed costs, variable costs, but you need to know those. Once we get the data and we set up the bank account structures, make sure you're in the right entity type for the type of business that you have, what we need to do is strategically plan forward for your business. How much money do you want to make in your business? How much profit do you want to make? And we need to set targets and KPIs around that and give you something to work towards, so that when you're looking at your business day to day and your operations, you go, okay, well, I know I need to make this many sales today, and these sales need to be on average worth this amount of money. And how do I best do that? Do I get more from a different type of market in my business? Where do I need to target my energy to make sure I get more of the clients in that space? So there's a lot that we can do, but they're the base things that I would set up with. And if you're not sure about financial data, that's okay. Reach out for help. People will help you. You have YouTube now, all these great things that you can learn from. And then you can come and talk to people like us, and we can help as well.
Wow, amazing. Getting your book right. Yeah. Thank you so much. So you also talk about aligning your business with your personal vision. Why is that very important, and how does someone start with that?
So I always do this really simply. I'd get a piece of paper and I draw a line in the middle of the page. And on one side, on the left side, I draw pictures about what my life looks like now. So I might have a family home. I might have my children that I draw there. I say I have businesses, and everything that I have in my life I draw on that side. And then on the other side, I draw everything that I want my life to be. I would like to have international holidays every 2 years. I would like to have a beautiful nice car. I would like to have a holiday house in Italy, whatever it is, right? You draw whatever it is that your heart desires. And then you have to put numbers to those things. So if you are doing an international holiday every 2 years, well, that might cost you, say, 50,000 Australian dollars. And so what we need to do is we need to build in budgets so we know what dollar figure we're working towards. Otherwise, we don't know what we're working for. And if it doesn't mean something to us, and I mean really mean it, not things that people think we need. Like, I don't want a Maserati because society says I should want one. If I want a classic car, for me it's a 1968 HK Monaro, right? And in Australia right now, they'd probably cost me about $250,000-$300,000 to have that vehicle. And I want it
Yeah.
because I generally want it, not because I think I should have,
Yeah.
that kind of car, right? And so if I'm really attached to the vision, I will make it work, but I need to put a dollar figure on it and I need to put a time frame on it. For me, I'd say probably, 5 to 10 years for the really big goals
Yeah.
is probably a correct amount of time. If you say you want it tomorrow, then there's a problem because it takes time to build these things, but you need to be attached to the vision. It needs to mean something to you.
Yeah. So true. So true. I think this actually more like offer the bigger perspective because just the way you said, I think having the big picture of what and what you actually want, in fact, it's even giving you the necessary drive and energy towards chasing it, compared to when you don't have any blueprints. Because when once there is number, your mind will keep working with a particular synergy, owing to the fact that you have a picture you're actually more like heading out so for, which actually inform maybe your perspective, your decision that you make, and yeah, the necessary energy to in reaching out. And this thing just have a way of building up energy. That's yeah, it might not be a spoken word, but the fact that you have a goal, things just keep vibrating or keep working in a way that to show that you actually have that particular goal in mind. Yeah, thank you so much. So
It's easy
what tools
though.
us
It's easy though
okay,
if you have a point of where you are now, and if you can visualize the point where you need to be, like on a map,
yeah,
and this correlates to wherever we are in the world, it's easy to make a track to get there. Everyone's track might be different. It might be a straight line, it might be a curvy line, right? But you're going to get there if you set the goal. So
yeah,
it's great, and especially if you have a family and you are the head of the family, you want to make sure that happens because you might want to take care of not only your own immediate family but other family members as
yeah,
well. You know,
yeah, so true, so true. Thank you so much. So
mm-hmm.
what tools or system do you recommend for managing operation, reporting, and planning effectively?
So, making sure you have good accounting software. I know that there's many different types in the world, but finding ones that work well for you. The one that I use in Australia is Xero. And making
Yes.
sure that you have very, very up to date data. So we input our data daily so that I can pull a report at any time. And in respects to strategy, what I would suggest is once you've mapped out what your personal goals are, we need to look at ways of utilizing your business to be able to legally pull money out to build your wealth outside of your business. And so for me, I like things like commercial property. I like to buy bullion, gold and silver and platinum. I like shares. I like crypto. And so what I do is I utilize my business and I pull money out legally to build it in other entities outside. And, by doing that, my money's working harder for me in
Yeah.
those spaces,
Yeah.
right? So I've got this great business that I'm growing. It's got a great income of its own. I'm also drawing income from that, so it's paying my wage, but I'm also building this great wealth portfolio outside of my business so that if I decided to sell my business in 10 or 15 years, that's fine because I've got this great thing that's probably by that time grown to give me passive income for my kids and my kids' kids, right? If I look after this thing correctly. So I think that ideally is the strategy, is making sure you understand that it's just the vehicle and building your wealth outside using that business.
Wow, that's really, really very insightful. Because it just dawned on me that having this particular system where you actually more like invest your cash flow from your business into, it's very, very keen. It's not just in, how will I say it now, bringing in money. Because another thing is most business actually fold up owing to the fact that there is no liquidity, there is no money, there's no, so having it invested somewhere, it just give a basis that every now and then, depending on what the business is, it can always bail itself out from any yeah, which is really, really very key compared to when those plan and those things are not actually put in place to actually more like make things right. So how can trade people use simple process to scale without feeling overwhelmed?
So you need to make sure that you're in when you're trying to scale, it's really important that you're taking small steps regularly to make changes, because we don't want to do anything really rapid where
Yeah.
it'll make things fall over. So that's why I talk about the foundational setup of the business, and we talked about the bank accounts and the entity already. But when we're making structure like changes to our business, we need to implement things and then test them for say 30, 60 or 90 days before we make any further changes to them. So if you are going to set up a profit first model and utilizing, as I said, Mike Molowitz's book Profit First, you
Yeah.
might want to run that and make sure that that system is working for you over that period of time before you make any changes to those systems. And so when we're implementing things in the business, don't change them multiple times. Like if you're going to have a team and you want to structure what roles you need in the business, you wouldn't implement a new role until you know that everyone else is at maximum capacity. You're not going to, hire a new person at 40 hours a week if somebody's only doing 30 hours a week worth of work. Like we want to look at, can we do a fractional role?
Yeah.
Is there some way we can get a virtual assistant from the other side of the world who just wants to do administration instead of, hiring a full-time person? And so it's about making sure that we're scaling within the limits, and then we're making sure it's safe before we scale up again. And, making sure that we've got that regular income coming in, have diversified clients, working with the best clients, the A clients that we want, having, a very clear image of who those people are. Like Alex Hormozi, he's got a very particular type of
Yeah.
client to work with him, right? And he knows who they are. And so he markets directly to those people. So we make sure that you know who your best clients are. You're marketing directly to those people. So you're getting the best return on your investment for any marketing that you're paying for. And just scaling slowly but regularly. If you're making 1 or 2% improvements every day over the course of a year, that's massive. Over
Yeah.
the course of 5 years, that's huge, right? And we're just regularly, constantly improving ourselves.
Yeah, so true, so true. Because I think from statistics, it shows that a whole lot of business actually more like fail owing to scaling, because they didn't actually scale right, or they scale it, yeah, without putting a lot of measures in place. And you actually make reference of it should be more like a little leap here and there, not just sorting in a way of I actually want to open a lot of branches so places without figuring out how the structure should work better, or how to utilize even those team that you actually have before talking about employing a whole lot of other new stuff, when at the end of the day, what the business is actually even bringing in can't even kind of pay them and actually more like work things perfectly.
Exactly. And so, like, when we opened our secondary branch, we sent one person with a van and they relocated to the new place. And we were like, if this doesn't work in 6 months, we're canning it, right? We're
Yeah.
not going to go and build a whole team there.
Yeah.
And we're not going to set up a whole branch because the cost of that would have been huge. And so we did that and it was successful. And then that branch grew into like essentially it's a whole nother business. And
Yeah.
then we just kept doing that. And so, and then every time that I moved into a new location, I like to buy the premises in my personal wealth creation, right? So
Yeah.
then I have an asset that I control, but it's for myself personally. And so if you're doing that side by side and you're making sure that those steps are strategic and not loading yourself up on overheads every time you want to do that next scale, you'll be okay. But you're 100% right. That's where people get stuck. And sometimes they get stuck on the scale wheel
Yeah.
because they go up to say, 30, 40, 50 people, and then they go back down to 5. And then they go up again, and then they go back down. And you kind of go, well, what keeps happening here that this keeps happening to you? Do you want to be a 30, 40 people business? Or do you want to be a 5-person business? And if you want to just be a 5-person business, that's okay. They can still make really great money if it's,
Yeah.
going to get you what you need, right? You don't have to be a huge business if you choose not to. But think about that in the beginning before you, go through that a multiple
Yeah.
times.
Yeah. So true. So true. Thanks a lot for that. So, what opportunity do you see for young trade people and entrepreneur who want to build businesses that truly supports the life they want?
I think be really open to different types of businesses. People don't like the boring businesses, but like Cody Sanchez says,
Yeah.
laundromats and things, they work, right? There's people with vending machines and laundromats and trade-based
Yeah.
businesses. But we need all of those things. So look at what people need. And if you can see a need there and you can fulfill that need for those people and you can make money, it can be a business. So think about what's outside the box. It doesn't have to be a really pretty business or a sexy business or a new business. It can just be the business that will always be there, that will always work. And consider that, because it's not going to go away. There's
Yeah.
things in AI implemented. We're
Yeah.
still going to need electricians. We're still going to need plumbers, carpenters. We're going to need people to do like laundromats, as I
Yeah.
said. No matter what, if people have no money in the world, they'll still buy a chocolate bar from a vending machine, right? And so there are businesses that are great. I think Cody Sanchez said there's going to be a huge movement in the aged care space,
Yeah.
because everybody is getting older and there's more medical advancements, so we're living
Yeah.
longer. And people who are special needs, there's more requirement for spaces for those people as well. So thinking outside the box, but don't discount the businesses that are the tried and true businesses. They work.
Yeah. Yeah, so true. Because I remember how actually more like make reference of that. Because even as the age is going on, a whole lot of our family business is going down owing to their children are not willing to take up those boring businesses. And
Mm.
now it's even easier for them. It's even easier for people to actually buy a lot of boring business owing to the founder is already old and is about quitting the business, and the business is doing very well, but there is nobody to actually pass it down to, so it's easier to buy.
And,
In
and
fact,
that's what's happening. And they're calling
yeah,
it the silver tsunami, because all these people, they want their businesses to continue, but nobody wants to take
yeah,
them on. So what happens?
yeah. So key. In fact, even when I was starting my business, my goal is if I how I even see my business every now and then when people say, "Tell me about your business." I actually more like go with a tagline that I do a boring business. And for me, it's lovely because well, actually, because I know that AI is actually more like doing a whole lot when it comes to a whole lot of white collar job and a whole lot of things. Because I actually graduated studying electrical electronic engineering, but
Oh,
I'm
wow.
not practicing yet. Yeah, I actually graduated. I graduated. So well, like, you know what?
I said that's okay. I was going to university for psychology. It's like it doesn't always work out the way that you think it's going to work
Yeah,
out.
but the knowledge you actually gain there speak a whole lot. And the fact that I think how I actually got that insight was, I think when I was in my year three, we had it was during the period of the lockdown. I was in my year three, and owing to the lockdown, everybody went home. So I was privileged to be employed by this construction company that was working on the roads around my house. So I think at one point they actually reached out to the contractor, and I was asking him that how does he actually make his money and what kind of job does he actually do? And he was telling me that he does this construction company, and he was even telling me that the construction company does not even give him much money compared to the waste business he does. That he has a truck who actually more like who does waste management, and they take they collect waste from their clients at every time. That particular one truck, the money he gave him most times is bigger than what, because there's construction sometimes it's just the name. That there's not much money there compared to that waste. So when he was saying it, I was like, I can't wait. I can't wait to just finish. I want to do boring business. Strictly boring business. Yeah. So with the lesson you're actually even putting out now, it simply means one structure can be getting right. I think almost every boring business can be a business where you can actually get live, that you can even get to travel, do other things that pleases you. Once you get structure in place and a whole lot of things in place. And the good thing about it is, as far as AI is concerned, AI is not coming to take boring business soon. So it's something that is going to keep working, and every now and then they keep taking a whole lot of jobs that they need to learn and learn over again. Compared to this boring business where we're having low hands coming into it every now and then, a whole lot of persons they want to learn AI, they want to learn about this, they want to learn about this. And for me, it's a great opportunity because I don't have to rack my brain too much. I just do the basic minimum, do it very well. I have a better team that actually work very well at it. And then I live the life of
That's it. That's it. And that's it. It's all just planning for it though, right? And
Yeah.
and you've got these great opportunities. So you just got to say yes to the opportunities. You make sure that they're the right ones, obviously. Do your due
Yeah.
diligence to make sure. But, you can have everything that you want. And that's the great thing about business is we don't have a ceiling on our income like a job. We can
Yeah.
earn
So
as much
true.
as we want, depending on how hard you want to work and how many hours you want to put in. Like I used to put in a lot of hours. I don't really put that many hours in now, but that's because I spent that time building it in the beginning. So now I can
Yeah.
have more time at home, more time with my kids and my family. I
Yeah.
have three boys. I want to spend as much time with them as
Wow.
possible before they go onto their own lives.
Yeah.
And then, as long as I'm comfortable, I'm happy. I can't envision that I'll ever be a multi-billionaire, and that's okay because I'm
Yeah.
be quite happy in my peaceful home in, having my holidays and doing the things that I love doing. So, why not?
Yeah. It's okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. So, for those starting out, what's one habit or mindset shift, that make the biggest difference in the long run?
You need to plan your week every single week. So on a Monday, you need to set goals for the entire week. On a Wednesday, you need to check in and see if you've achieved some of those goals and if you are having trouble, why. And on the Friday, you need to make sure you reflect on the week and plan forward. You always need to understand what went wrong so you can make the changes you need to change. Everything is a learning. There are no
Yeah.
failures. We fail forward because we want to understand what did not work and
Yeah.
why, and was it something that we did or is it something that we should have done earlier? And it's about implementing those learnings as quickly as possible so that we can recorrect before we go the next week. When we don't learn lessons and we keep doing the same mistake over and over, all it does is it costs us money and time. And money we can make more of, but time we can never get back. So we need to make sure that we learn as quickly as possible and move forward.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay because I think there's this particular quote by Socrates which says, "The unexamined life is not worth living." And the fact that you could actually sit down and look at the book, or look at what goes on within a week. I think that is a great way that actually more like influence decisions to make things better, compared to reading bigger books without getting to actually sit down with your business to see what is working and what is not working. Because sometimes the clue you are looking for to the big hit, the eureka moment, is hidden in those little details that sometimes we fail to actually pay attention to.
That's right. And that's why I love looking at financial data because I love looking at I find anomalies, right? Because that's how I love looking for things. It's almost like a Where's Waldo, I'm looking for the anomaly, the mistake, because I want to correct it. And so I'm always looking for that. And I think that you really need to make sure that if you're reviewing everything regularly, you'll be able to see those things so much more clearly and
Yeah,
more quickly.
yeah, so true. So when you look back on your journey, on your own journey from business owner to consulting, what is the biggest lesson you have learned about building a business that work for you, not against you?
Well, I worked for a very, very big corporation when I was in my 20s, and
Yeah,
I know now that if I'm working for myself, every bit of work that I'm doing, the outcome is proportionate to the work that I'm doing, right? And so
yeah,
I would rather take a chance and take a risk on being a business owner than working in a multi-million dollar corporation who doesn't care about me. The greatest gift that my business gave me, aside from all the money and everything that I have gotten from it, is time with my family. Because when I was working in a big corporation, I would work 100 hours a week and I would never see my kids. And now I am with my kids as soon as they're not in school. We are together every day, every afternoon doing things. And so I strongly suggest that people look at the benefits it'll give you outside of the money. The money's great.
yeah,
I love the money. Don't get me wrong.
yeah.
But things that it can give you, right? What about your family time? What about being able to just be happy and healthy and live a long and happy, healthy life? And I think that that's really an amazing thing that business can give us.
Yeah, so true, so true. Thanks a whole lot for that, Sonya. And what does success look like for you today? And what kind of legacy do you want to leave?
I'll be leaving a business that is multi-generational in nature. If my children choose to take it on,
Yeah.
then it will be there for them. So that will be the gift that can keep on giving, and I'll be making sure that it's a
Mm.
multi-international business so that they can take it all around the world. And if they choose to live overseas, great. If they choose to stay in Australia, great. But I want them to have something that I've built, and I want to hand the reins over one day and say, "This, I did this for you. I've gotten all these great things out of it, and I will continue to have great things." But I want them to already have a start ahead of, starting it from the ground up. They
Yeah.
won't have to do that. So if I can leave that for my own children and educate and help, millions of people along the way, then that's what I want to do. I want to help as many people as possible.
Wow. Amazing. This is really inspiring. Just hearing from you, I feel that after this episode, I will have to kind of copy everything that you get to say. And actually put it somewhere where they ask me what does success means for you, I just be like, to help everybody, to be a gift and help everybody I need to help with what I have. So it's really amazing. Okay, on the final note, if you had to leave more like any insights, lessons, and or something for my guests, for my audience who are trade people, hands-on entrepreneurs who work with their hands, what will it be if we were to leave them a particular more like keynote?
I would say success is defined by what you feel in your own life is your own success. Don't judge yourself by other people's standards. As they say, I think Alex Hormozy says it best when he
Yeah,
says, comparison is the thief of joy. I think he said
yeah,
that. And so what I want to say is you can do anything you put your mind to, no matter if you're working with your hands, if you're working with your mind, or you're doing both. But don't compare yourself to other people. Do what's right for you and reach your own version of success, but know and understand what that is before you get started, if you can. And that will help guide you there.
yeah. Thank you so much. This is really profound because I feel a whole lot of local entrepreneurs who work with their hands sometimes. Uh, when I say they feel ashamed sometimes to actually show up or do what they do. Some of them are not actually proud of what they do. They do, owing to is they consider it as a menial job, and sometimes it's still their joy into this comparison, and sometimes they can't deliver the best job they can owing to the fact that they are still feeling guilty of what they do and the numbers of money they are getting to make. So accepting what you do and accepting everything, it's lovely because I remember I was interviewing a particular guest and who said she actually wants to change the world and she was looking forward to being a doctor and everything. At the end of the day, she actually dived into a business that involved blue collar entrepreneurs. So I was like, what not change? What not change in you actually more like changing the world? And she was like, she got a bigger perspective that changing the world does not actually mean being a lawyer, being a doctor. It simply means being in your little business, doing and actually helping people with what they do because she was into interiors and she said, if I actually make space better for my clients, I'm simply changing the world. So once you view your business at the end of the day that you're actually more like helping your clients to solving their pain points, being a great help to them, I think that actually more like, it's you changing the world in your own little ways rather than looking at the big goals because we can't all be a doctor and nurses. Because if we do that, who is going to be our plumber? Who is going to fix our life? Who is going to fix a whole lot of intricate stuff here and there? And most times, these are the key ingredients that, if more like it happens that those things have issues, we run here and there just to get to fix them. And it's thank you so much for that.
That's my
So
pleasure.
tell us more about yourself and how my audience can actually learn about you.
So I'm on all of the social platforms under Clear Plan Consulting Proprietary Limited. I am based here in Australia, but I work with people all around the world. I have a website which is www.clearplanconsulting.com.au, and people can book on there and have a conversation with me, and we can talk about business. And then if they need help and I can help them, then we can move forward. And I have videos, I have YouTube. So, if you don't get time to connect, at least watch and see if you can learn something from the videos, and hopefully I can impart some knowledge along the way.
It has been a powerful conversation. Thank you for sharing your story, practical strategy for building a strong foundation in business. For everyone listening, if you want to learn more or get support learning from this business, head on to the show notes where everything is going to be there, the various link. Remember that clarity is power. The cleaner and more organized your business is, the more freedom you will have to live the life you truly want. Until next time, keep building, keep growing, and keep believing the power of your hands. This is the Aro Benaiah Show. Thank you.